Hello, crooks. Welcome to the end of another week. We are getting close to the end of the first month in 2021. So you can anticipate an end of the year letter to be mailed out this next coming week. And for those of you that expect a contribution statement, you'll have that included. But we're also going to have information about Lent and all the things that we'll be doing in the life of the church and ways in which we will be worshiping together and learning together and things that we can do at home and connect through. And so be on the lookout for that. So believe it or not, Lent begins with Ash Wednesday on February 17th. And so as I mentioned, Lent, and obviously that brings us to the anticipation for Easter. Some of you may be wondering, so when are we going to be back in person for worship? And I know many of you, because I hear from you, that you are comfortable with what we're doing because you feel that it's safest right now. We know that there's some of you who are anxious to see us return to in-person, and the Healthy Church team continues to be the guiding force behind those decisions and following the guidance that we are receiving. And of course, in the midst of this surge right now, this is not the time to return to in-person worship. But as I've shared and has been shared, we did go ahead and the Healthy Church team was able to put together an in-person worship plan, and that has since received approval from our district superintendent, which was required. And so that's the main step that we need in order for us to resume in-person worship, meaning we now have the approved plan. So once we discern that it's the right time to do that, then we'll be ready to. Part of that is dependent on health metrics, as well as what we feel we're going to be capable and operationally ready to do, because of course we have to keep in mind that not everyone is going to return to in-person worship. And so we are also in the midst of doing work to ensure that we can continue online worship when we do resume in-person worship, and considering all of those things. So we do know that we are heading in that direction. We don't have a date yet because, again, right now would not be the time to do that, but we do anticipate that we're moving towards that. And if you have questions about any of that, certainly ask anyone on the Healthy Church team. And of course, Bob Van Zant, who's the chair of that team. But then also, and this kind of goes along with this, what I want to share too today is about some of the goals that have been set for us. So just a reminder, because this has been shared several times too, in the fall, the leadership board did its natural work of setting goals for the church in the coming, for this year now, then it was the coming year. And of course, at that time, I also shared that we renewed the vision for the church, which is making space for God and others, as well as, of course, reinforcing our mission, which we received directly from Jesus Christ to make disciples. And we add for transformation of the world because we know that that is what God expects of Christ's body, is to continue multiplying for the sake of furthering the kingdom in the world. And so as we seek to grow, it's from that we should be helping grow others. And so that's this talk of discipleship for us. What does it mean for us to make space for God more deeply, more richly in our own lives, in our communal life as a church, but then also for others to make space for God in their lives, and how we can be a part of that, and also for us to make space for others to be a part of the body of Christ here that we call Crooks. And so 3 of the goals that were set, one has to do with returning to in-person worship, and that's centered around what we call hybrid worship. So hybrid worship means that we're able to offer both in-person worship and continue online worship in meaningful ways. And so there is a team that's going to be formed to begin. We already have some research and work being done, and in a way where we have the online component that we have now, but that obviously will have to shift some when we return to in-person. So we're forming a team to do basically more research and to get information together about what our options are, what we feel we're capable of being able to do, what we feel we'll be able to do with the resources we have, as well as explore what resources we might need to be able to continue this. Because we now know and have learned so much over the last year, having done online worship. And we know that we are connecting with people even beyond our local community, and we want to be able to continue that because we're reaching other people in the name of Christ. And we know that I can name and think of a few people who we have engaged through our online worship experience who are not previously active with a local congregation or used to be and weren't. And so we're thankful that our online worship has been able to be a source for that. And so we also know it's been meaningful. We continue to hear from many of you, and I always appreciate when we get that feedback of how meaningful the worship services are and the messages and being able to see everyone that gets to be a part of worship. And so we want to continue being able to offer both things. One of the other goals has to do with our ministry teams. And when we are able to come back together and begin to do even more ministry and mission, the things that we have been used to, and also hopefully find some new paths that God may be choosing for us, we want to be able to bolster our ministry teams and to be able to align them with our discipleship pathway. And we'll be talking more about that. The discipleship pathway is something we had just started launching and making known when we had to close for in-person worship. And so we know that that's kind of sitting off to the side. We've been using it, kind of talking about it, but not had opportunity to really dig deep into it. But we want our ministry teams to fit alongside that. So we want to be able to resource those a little bit better, maybe get some to work more closely together to be reinforcing, but all of it so we can continue and build upon our fruitful and effective ministry and mission. And then one of the other goals has to do with hospitality. It's a hospitality training. And now, usually when you think hospitality, you immediately think about how we welcome people, maybe what we serve at meet and greet, how we talk to one another when new people arrive at the church. But this is something Buck Mandeville is taking a lead on. He's part of our discipleship team. And it's really about helping equip one another to be able to talk more comfortably about our faith in our everyday experiences. So whether that's at work, when you're at the grocery store, when you're talking to friends and family, because of that call that we have, right? To make space for God and make space for others, to help grow other disciples. What does it mean to do that in not intimidating ways, right? Not to make yourself feel like you're out evangelizing. I'll say that word because I think many of us have a negative connotation to it. We're not meant to be. It doesn't mean that you're going to go knock on doors or stand on a sidewalk with a bullhorn, but we should be comfortable having our faith be a part of natural conversation with others. And so Buck wants to offer a training on that when we're all back together for those who maybe want to take advantage of that. And we've begun to starting to hear others do that in our worship services through the story from our journeys. And I've heard from a couple of you who want to be able to share some of your own testimonies, and that's a huge blessing. And it's probably good for me to remind you that if you are wanting to share something like that, or share in any way during worship, maybe even reading scripture or being a liturgist, if your only hesitation is having to record yourself, we have the means to do that for you in a safe and socially distanced way. So if anyone is wanting to share a story or to be a part of worship and just not sure how to record themselves, we can either walk you through that or come and do a socially distanced recording. And so know that that's available for everybody. So there'll be more coming as we continue to move through those goals. We just had our first leadership board of the year. That meeting was on Thursday night. So you can anticipate this coming week, the minutes from that meeting to be coming out, which will also have reports attached, and you'll be able to read about those goals just a little bit more. So I encourage you to do that. We have been talking about these things. We continue to strive to communicate as well as we can with the congregation, with all of you through these videos, through our e-news, through the mailings that we do and other forms of communication. And so if you are finding any ways that we can continue to build on that, please let Christy or I know. But we are just thankful that we can continue to offer these things. I'm looking forward to sharing about what's being planned for Lent. You can anticipate Lenten kits like we had for the Advent kits. And so just be on the lookout for that information. Again, if you have any questions about things, feel free to contact me, any of the chairs that would be appropriate to contact about things, and any feedback about how we're doing things and what we're doing is always welcome. And so, friends, I just pray that we continue to worship together. I'll see you on Sunday as we continue our sermon series on Follow Me. Continue to be well, be safe, and keep one another in prayer. All right, blessings and peace.